this is one that all of you can relate to. If you're a black guy and you can't relate to this, fight me. Difficulties only black men can relate to. So only black men can relate to these particular difficulties, ladies and gentlemen. The most consequential or the most important or significant of these difficulties is the fact that black men have become the invisible minority. Historically, when you look at things, black men controlled, black men led the communities in America and Britain. We organized, we protested. We've had the likes of Dr. Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. We've had the likes of Malcolm X. We have all these historical figures. All of them were assassinated. At some point, the black women started to compete with black men financially, socially, politically. And then the outcomes became that black women started to lead the communities. They make on average more money than black men, and they take pride in that. Right, they take pride in competing with the men in their communities. But also when we're talking about the destruction of the black community, we can't talk about it without referencing the war on drugs in the late 1960s and the early 1970s, which just systematically wiped out black men and took them out of home and basically put them in prison. But in addition to that, we also have to discuss the welfare state as well, where black women were incentivized by the US state to basically not need the man. One of the prerequisites to being eligible for welfare at the time was that you had to basically kick the man out of the house. A lot of black women did kick the man out of the house and they took the money. So this started a downward spiral with regards to the black family, and so eventually led to the destruction of the black family in America. The rise of black feminism was a big one too, to be honest. I think there's a lot of good black women out there, but I think black feminism is a problem, because when black women start to argue that they don't need a man, that basically led to the whole concept of the invisible minority, because now the black women are arguing that black men are pointless. What do we exist for? There's a video of a woman called Cynthia G, who even claimed that some black women should abort their black male babies because we're basically useless.
And the only reason I support aborting a black child when it comes to it being male is because when I look at the black community and the problems in it, it's associated with males and male pathology. When you talk about violence, it's associated with the males. When you talk about the,
that's one factor, to be honest. We have to reference the war on drugs, the mass incarceration, the welfare state, which led to the destruction of the black family, and the rise of black feminism within the black community, which basically led to the average black man becoming an invisible minority, right? So all of us can relate to feeling like we're useless within the bounds of the black community. But number two, and this number two is also important, is that every black man at some point can relate to being forced to have to fit into certain ideals of masculinity within the black community. Thinking of thug culture, hood culture, you have to be this black guy who has to be extremely masculine. Well, I'm not saying that obviously it's good to be masculine. I'm a man, right? It's good. The problem is that when you're a black guy with healthy levels of masculinity, within the confines or within the hegemony of black culture, healthy masculinity is considered as being feminine. Right? Let's say you're a black guy, you're nerdy, you're into IT. That's essentially considered as being feminine within the structure of the black community, which is incredibly problematic, to be honest, because I believe that there's no one way of being black. And I think black men should be able to explore ways in which to be black without being bounded to just a limited scope of what being black is really like, which is, you have to wear a do-rag, you have to be into thug culture, what's going on, nigga, what's going on, listening to hip-hop music. I'm not saying I love hip-hop music, but I'm saying if there's a black person who doesn't listen to hip-hop music, you shouldn't be persecuted for that. Some of the key perpetrators of these societal concepts are black women sometimes, because sometimes you might notice that the black women are actually going out with the stereotypical thug nigga, the thug nigga, so like masculine kind of figure. I'm not saying that's a problem, but at the end of the day, if women are setting these standards and then later on complaining about toxic masculinity and then trying to hold all black men accountable for the actions of few bad black men that they've dated, I don't think that's fair, to be honest. And it's quintessential to recognize that every culture has their ghetto culture. So ghetto hood culture is not just limited to black culture. Every culture has it. But the issue is that the ghetto hood culture within the black community is at the forefront of the culture, right? Whereas most cultures tend to hide their ghetto culture, and the people who are the ghetto people tend not to be the loudest within their own cultures. It's often the good aspect of the culture that's put at the forefront, not the negative aspect, right? So I think black men should explore and be free to be what they want to be without being confounded or confined into this box of, you have to be extremely masculine and aggressive, like scary, hench, you know what I mean? You have to be a thug nigga with braids on wearing a fucking do-rag. That's not what healthy masculinity is. You could be all of that, but you can also be a guy who's just chilled out, a guy who's into whatever music, a guy who's into writing, a black guy who's into reading without having to be confined into this small box. I don't think it's fair. This is one that all of you can relate to. If you're a black guy and you can't relate to this, fight me. And that is having to be significantly better than whites just to be considered, right? Having to be 10 times better. Back in the day, the argument is that if you're black, you have to be twice as good just to be get half as far. Looking at racism and systemic racism, I would be happy. But it's not twice as good. It's like 20 times as good just to be able to get half as far relative to white people. So when it comes to dating, career, relationships, I remember I was in the gym. And I saw the most average white man you would ever see. Right next to him, he's got a girlfriend. His girlfriend is fucking alright. Like, she's not extremely good looking, but she's decent, right? But now think of yourself if you're an average black guy. Do you have those privileges? No, because the average black woman's standards are over the roof. And not only are they over the roof, but they're on average unrealistic dating standards, to be honest, which is incredibly problematic, ladies and gentlemen. Furthermore, being an average black guy is an abomination, right? Being an average white man is accepted within society. It's like, it's almost praised. Just be an average person. Yo, my name is Phil. I'm a white guy. I'm 51. I'm a project manager, mate. Accepted. You're a black guy, you're an average black guy. You're going to be sleeping under a fucking bridge. That's the difference. So every black guy can relate to average being considered as being problematic, whereas with white people, an average white person can actually go a long way, right? So this is basically a further demonstration of what white privilege actually really is, to be honest. And finally, the most important one we need to discuss is the anti-black maleness. This is the term that I've made up off the spot, mate. Honestly, don't hold me for it. Anti-black maleness, the hate against black men, not only from like people of other races, to be honest, right? Because obviously most of us black men can be incredibly masculine, but like, this is a masculinity that other people see as being scary and intimidating, right? So most of us can be assertive when need to be. And also there's a lot of black men who are confident too, right? Confident, tough looking. So some people can be intimidated by that. And back in the day when I was growing up, right, once I hit puberty, you might notice that the people that normally would cross the street when they see a black man, like me, for example, were normally white people, like white women and some white men. But today, I'm gradually starting to see black women cross the street when they see black men. I'm not even gonna lie, no cap, bro. I'm starting to see even black women cross the street, right? And also there's this issue against black men being assertive. It's like, a black man being assertive and being dominant is almost considered as being aggressive, whereas a white man can do the same thing. And the guy is considered as being, oh, he's like assertive, he's making his point, he's inspiring. That's the difference, right? So the double standards are crazy. And honestly, ladies and gentlemen, if you can relate to any of these points, just make sure to smash the like button and comment and subscribe, and I'll see you later. Peace.